Man, good morning.
Good morning, Bernard. How are you?
I'm so happy.
Oh, really?
Man,
it's a new week.
I'm happy with a lot of things.
Okay, give me one.
No, I just say good morning to Christopher Nimley. Cotito, good morning. You know, I have his dance,
The day he recorded that video.
No, he said Boboli Bobo.
The day he recorded
there are 2 videos.
No, he said Lampard, no. And that man, you beba ubenya Boboli Bobo.
The day he recorded, I spoke to him that night and I said,
Christopher, not with you.
I told him in Ghana, I said, Chris,
It's
Shomonoe. He said, oh, say you.
I'm going to attack TV, colleague Ghana, so good morning to the Man U family. The Lord is with you. Amen. It is well. We went through for 30 years. God will strengthen you to go through.
Hallelujah.
Let's go through the headlines.
Front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper this morning, Bernard. WASI begins today. President also resumes work today, wishes WASI candidates well. Local government ministry Zumla disinfects 1,000 markets nationwide. PPP elects national executive. And some good news. COVID-19 testing enhanced. Logistics procured, according to Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah.
The Ghanaian Times also has a take on the WASI. Says it begins today. 313,837 students will write their final papers today. 90 former workers drag Coca-Cola to Labour Commission. President resumes work at Jubilee House today after 2 weeks self-isolation. And second phase nationwide disinfection fumigation exercise begins.
Front page of the Daily Statesman. COVID-19 active cases drop as Akufo-Addo resumes out-of-home engagements after 14-day isolation. Finance Minister presents mid-year budget review on Thursday. The NLA, the National Lotto Authority, is cautioning the public against lotto fraudsters.
The finder says receiver to pay 151.8 million cedis to 5,637 ex-staff of collapsed microfinance savings and loans companies. President wishes SHS finalists good luck as WASI begins today. EC registers over 7.2 million eligible applicants in 16 days. COVID-19 cases declining, Ghana Health Service, and Oforiatta must reconcile government IMF economic data. That's Seth Tekbe speaking there.
Front page of the Daily Guide says NDC dazed, rejects Interpol red alert on fugitive Adam Mahama. Nana resuming work today is here. Phase 2 nationwide disinfection underway. The Lotto fraudster story is also here. Seems to be a big deal.
Lotto.
Yeah.
The Chronicle says Akufo-Addo graduate starts WASI today. Focus on active COVID-19 cases. Ghana Health Service. Government launches second nationwide fumigation exercise. EC says expose those who want to cheat. And Lotto fraudsters on the prowl, duping people.
Front page of the Herald newspaper. Presidential staffer finally confirms COVID-19 is inside Jubilee House. NLA cautions public against Lotto fraudsters. Akufo-Addo's defense minister and others cited in Airbus deal.
The New Crusading Guy says Akufo-Addo bounces back from isolation, resumes work today. NLA cautions public against Lotto fraudsters.
This Lotto fraudster matter.
It's a serious, Lotto.
Why is the Lotto doctor not rich?
I wonder.
He's a good Samaritan. Correct GOG IMF parallel figures. Seth Tekpe urges minister ahead of budget review. And phase 2 of nationwide market disinfection exercise takes off.
Finally from me, Bernard, front page of the BNFT. COVID-19 likely to erode local content gains in oil and gas as 450 local workers face job losses. Labour Office pushes employers to report redundancy numbers. Mid-year budget be transparent with data on deficit figures, according to former Finance Minister Seth Tekbe.
The Gold Street Business says SEC moves to protect investors with new directive. Orders operation of trust fund for investing clients. IES predicts marginal fuel price increase. GEPA sticks to NTE target despite COVID-19 disruptions. And on the Economy Times front page, BOG likely to hold policy rate at 14.5%. Minister's discretionary power in PRMA to be removed as PIAC pushes for amendment. And over $60 million loan approved for construction of health facilities. That's on the front page of the Economy Times.
CitiNewsroom.com. Mid-year budget to prioritize support for SMEs and industries affected by COVID-19. This is the Finance Minister. Also, GBC workers to petition NMC today over reduction of TV channels. Meanwhile, we have 607 new cases, 148 deaths recorded COVID-19. As we've already read, Akufo-Addo resumes work today after 2 week isolation. And then Oppong-Nkrumah says statistics show successes chalked in Ghana's COVID-19 fight. So that story seems to be one of the themes running through. Now, other stories: PPP affirms new national executives at virtual conference. Government distributes 50,000 PCR test kits to testing centers. And we're told observe COVID-19 protocols during WASI. Nanado to students and teachers. Citibusinessnews.com. Technomics account for funds secured for COVID-19 interventions at Techpe to government. Also, government must review petroleum agreements in mid-year budget according to COPEC. And over 500,000 stickers issued electronically through motor insurance database according to NIC. Major Online leads with campus stories. Final year student of Methodist Girls SHS dies after falling ill on campus. Cause of death is not told. Meanwhile, don't be intimidated by military. Go and register Muhammad to voter residents. And Interior Minister dismisses claims of secret recruitment into security services. Star News: COVID-19 active cases declining according to GHS. Also, National Coordinator says Ghana's testing capacity is back on track. And Baumia's influence in MPP is widespread according to Wale MCE. GNA has a couple of stories. President resumes work today. NDC agents were not prevented at registration centers according to EC. And there's an interesting feature here. Nigeria versus USA. Will Adesina triumph? This is the beleaguered African Development Bank chief executive. Now, elsewhere in the world, EU virus deal talks stretch into fourth day. Europeans are thinking of sharing some support for their member countries. The kitty that Ken Ofrata says is not available to us. So we are waiting for our own on Thursday. Let's start with the WASI stories.
Okay, I thought you wanted us to go. There are a lot of COVID stories.
Well, but they are related. I can give you a WASI COVID story.
Okay.
I can give you a whack.
Okay, let me go with WASI. Let me go with WASI at the front page of the Daily Graphic.
Lord.
WASI begins today.
Yeah.
Severus Kalidari writes that after months of uncertainty and apprehension arising out of the coronavirus disease pandemic, the 2020 West African Senior School Certificate exam kicks off for Ghanaian candidates today. In all, 375,733 candidates from 976 schools will be writing the examination at 796 centers throughout the country. Out of the figure, about 188,163 are female, while the remaining 187,573 are male. The Ashanti and the Eastern region top with 87,295 and 56,467 candidates respectively, while the Bunu East and Half regions combined follow with 45,295 candidates. Commenting on the
what's interesting about those numbers? So Ashanti and Eastern region have the largest two students.
Yeah.
But in terms of voters, the Greater Accra and Ashanti have the most voters. So it suggests that maybe the Eastern region has more schools per capita. Therefore, more students leave Accra to school there.
Yes.
Than even though
the Ashanti region has more schools than any other
region in the country.
Yeah.
So your story is giving the other breakdowns, right?
Yes.
Go ahead and give us.
Okay. The OT and Volta regions together are presenting 34,466 candidates, with the Northern Savannah and Northeast also presenting 248,330. While the Western and Western North regions present 24,332. The examination begins with the Visualize project, which will be done by 65,380 candidates in 8 different areas.
Now, the Chronicles headline is interesting. It calls them Akufo-Addo
graduates.
That's interesting. Why does it do that?
Because Nana has referred to them as
Akufo-Addo
graduates.
Oh, is it?
Last update.
Okay.
For COVID.
So these are his graduates.
Updates, yes, because
I see. He's talking to them here. Just give me that one. I'll give you the Citi News. It said observe COVID-19 protocols during WASI, Nanado to students and teachers.
Yes, and if you go to the Chronicle, there's a statement that it's quoting portions of a statement released by the president, and he says, quote, "I send my best wishes to the final year senior high school students who will, from today, take the WASI." In a statement yesterday, the president urged everybody playing a role in the entire exam to abide by all the protocols against the novel coronavirus. According to the president, the enhanced hygiene, wearing of masks, and the social distancing should continue, and those things should be the weapons to fight the virus.
Meanwhile, the Africa Education Watch is calling for a review of the WASI timetable. They are basically saying that there are some papers which are clashing, and the papers appear to be too packed, and therefore they have indicated that the WAEC to review the timetable by postponing the paper that clashes with another paper to either Sunday 6th or Monday 7th September 2020. Kofi Asare signed that statement. We'll go into your COVID stories now because there's a lot from yesterday's press briefing.
So page 16 of the Daily Graphic, COVID-19 testing enhanced, logistics procured. The Minister of Information, Mr. Kujapon Nkrumah, has said the government has taken delivery of adequate COVID-19 logistics to resume the national testing program at full throttle. He said the program suffered setbacks due to shortages of some logistics a few weeks back, but the situation had been rectified. Speaking at a national COVID-19 briefing in Accra yesterday, Mr. Nkrumah said, contrary to speculations, the 5-part national strategy of limiting importation, containing spread, adequate care for the sick, limiting socioeconomic impact, and ensuring local content had not changed and was being followed actively. Providing more details on the revamp on behalf of the National COVID-19 Testing Coordination Team, the head of the Virology Department of Nuguchi, Professor William Ampofo, said the team are taking delivery of enough logistics to test between 100,000 and 300,000 samples through a period of 3 months. Now, the supplies include swabs, KN95 masks, exam gloves, autoclave bags, polymerase chain reaction test kits, tubes, and PCR machines.
So that means that a lot of the questions we raised on Friday were answered at yesterday's press briefing. We'll bring you some highlights of that later during the show. But Akufo-Addo himself has resumed work today after 2 weeks of isolation.
Yeah.
That's also a story that came from yesterday's event, and it's in a number of papers. The president will, from today, Monday, July 20, resume his official duties after being isolated for 14 days. Information Minister made this known at a press conference on Sunday, said the president will attend to business from his office at the Jubilee House. Nathan, let's come back to you.
Yes, if you go to page 7 of the Chronicle, I think they missed the pages, but they're supposed to have a story on
the middle page.
Okay, it's actually on the middle page of it. That's the fumigation exercise.
Okay.
There, and sorry, written by Agnes. And says the government of Ghana, through the local government and rural development, started the second phase of the disinfection exercise in the Greater Accra region yesterday. The program, which was executed by Zoom Lion Ghana, was held in the early hours of Sunday and is dubbed National Disinfection Stroke Fumigation Exercise. The purpose is to clean markets, lorry parks, and public places of convenience in all the MMDAs in the Greater Accra region. The exercise will cover 137 markets in the 29 MMDAs in the region. So the Greater Accra Minister, Mr. Ishmael Ashiti, was at the program, and he said he was committed to reducing the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, hence his presence at the commencement ceremony early Sunday morning.
Citi TV was there to provide coverage of this, and it's an important part of the COVID arrangements. Now, the budget is also coming up for
before we get there, staying with COVID, the front page of the BNFT is talking about the how it is likely to erode local content gains in oil and gas. The country's bid to ensure that locals play a key role in the oil and gas industry is set to face major setbacks due to the disruption caused by the coronavirus pandemic and the collapse in oil prices. The industry over the past 6 years has made steady progress in pushing for more local content in the sourcing of goods, services, and labor as new oil and gas investments came online. However, the COVID-19 crisis has led most exploration and production firms to cancel contracts with local businesses. For instance, the pandemic, coupled with current low oil prices, has resulted in cancellation of about 98 contracts worth over $389 million. Bernard, this is not small money. Yeah. Awarded by Eka Energy, AGM, Eni, and Gosco in what is seen as a blow to local content development in an industry heavily dependent on foreign expertise and raw materials.
Before we go to the budget, GBC workers to petition NMC today over reduction in TV channels. Story on citynewsroom.com says unionized staff of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation say they will petition the National Media Commission today to intervene over plans by the government to cede 3 of their channels. Minister of Communication Esla Usu-Ekufo, in a letter on June 29, directed the DG of GBC to reduce the corporation's channels on the Ghana Digital Terrestrial Television platform from 6 to 3 within 60 days. The union last Friday held a debate to protest the move, saying to render some workers jobless. Now, the vice chairman who spoke to City News says the NMC must intervene. Nathan,
if you go to page 5 of the Finder, Seth Tepper is speaking there, and he says the current finance minister must reconcile government and IMF economic data. And he's asking Oforiatta to use the mid-year budget review to reconcile the differences in data on fiscal deficit and public debt figures published by the government compared to that of the IMF. He's also questioning what he's termed fiscal gap and government borrowing to fight COVID-19, which he said was far and above the projected COVID-19 expenditure announced by the finance minister in Parliament in March this year. Now, speaking to journalists ahead of the mid-year budget review, Mr. Tetre emphasized that loans from the IMF, the World Bank and the African Development Bank and drawdown from the Stabilization Fund cover the projected COVID-19 cost announced by the finance minister in March and May 2020.
Well, Bernard, on from that, there's a story on page 3 of the BNFT. Tertiary institutions not certain on admissions for 2020 academic year. There is growing uncertainty around tertiary institutions on admission of freshmen and women for the 2020 academic year following the outbreak of COVID-19 that has led to a shutdown of schools in the country. The councils and boards of the various tertiary institutions, including universities, teachers and nurses training colleges, as well as technical universities, are still not certain if they are to allow management of the schools to admit qualified freshmen and women to pursue their various courses for this academic year. Now, while some lecturers and staff of the various schools are of the view that by September admissions can take place, others are also not certain about this due to the inability of councils and boards to meet and communicate with them. We'll be keeping an eye on this story.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will this week present government media budget to focus on strategies to generate more revenue for the state after coronavirus pandemic. The minister says the budget will also consider extending some support to businesses and industries hit by the pandemic. The presentation aims at recovery for the economy, which has been affected by the virus.
If you go to page 2 of the Finder, the receiver is also making some news there. Now, he's set to pay 151.8 million cedis to 5,637 former workers of 209 defunct specialized deposit-taking institutions as outstanding salary arrears and compensation due them before the end of the month. This follows the BOG's making available funds to the receiver and official liquidator to fully settle employee-related claims which otherwise rank as unsecured claims in the receiverships or liquidation of the affected companies. Now, some numbers have been listed here. Now, it says the amount is made up of 144.3 million in compensation due the former employees and 7.5 million cedis in terms of salary arrears. He also states what 2,036 staff of 177 microfinance companies will be receiving. They will be getting 24.6 million as outstanding salaries and other related claims, and the details are all listed on page 2 of the Finder.
I like how the Finder normally goes into numbers.
Yeah,
now
they do.
On page 6 of the Daily Guide, Bernard, Lotto fraudsters on rampage.
This story
seems to have become a national story.
Everywhere.
A.F. Gomda is writing here that fraudsters in the lotto industry have upped their game as they adopt complex strategies to defraud unsuspecting patrons. Their earlier methods having been exposed, the fraudsters, Daily Guide has learned, have widened their platforms and deepened their sophistication to give their criminal actions a semblance of authenticity. When Daily Guide reached out to some personnel of the NLA Public Affairs Unit, they reacted thus: "We would like to caution the general public, media and the staking public not to fall victim to the activities of the lotto fraudsters who are using different platforms and communication strategies. Besides, the fraudsters use the name and logo of NLA in different formats and in a manner sophisticated that many can easily fall prey." So it looks like people should be on the lookout for
this lotto matter.
The lotto matter.
The story is everywhere. I'm even surprised how so much has gone into that story. Anyway, PPP has affirmed their new national executives at a virtual conference. Story on citinewsroom.com. It says the 6th National Convention of the Progressive People's Party on Saturday endorsed its national executives for a 4-year term at a virtual meeting held in Accra. Nana Ofori-Wusu, former Director of Operations, is now the chairman, replacing Ni Alote Bruhamon. Other elected executives are Felix Ogra, first national vice chairman; Mrs. Belinda Bule Segbeji, second vice chairman; Mr. Bansalia, third national chairman; Pakwisi Akon, national secretary; and Madam Abena Champoma, national treasurer. They also have appointed officers including Divine Nkrumah, Mr. Paul Bio, Felix Mante, and others. Now, they will constitute the team that will run the campaign for the December polls. The founder of the party is Dr. Pakwisi Indum, and the outgoing national chairman joined the meeting via Hangout, an online communication platform from their base in the United States. And they couldn't get into Ghana because of the border closure, but they used a conference to organize that. All right, let's come back to you guys. Other stories?
Yes.
Okay, if you
can
go
go.
to the Go Street Business, the Securities and Exchange Commission is also there, and they are saying, or they have issued a new directive to all capital market operators open and maintain and operate trust accounts for and on behalf of clients effective July 16, 2020. According to the regulator, the trust fund shall hold all monies received from clients or on behalf of clients by capital market operators shall be deposited for the purposes of investment. A trust account, as determined by SEC, shall not contain any other money except those deposited by clients or on behalf of clients of capital market operators for investment purposes.
Bernard, let me take you international now. Quite a bit happening around the world. On page 5 of the Daily Graphic, Zimbabwe arrests 100,000 for violation of COVID-19 measures.
Wow.
More than 105,000 people have been arrested in Zimbabwe since March for violating regulations aimed at curbing the spread of coronavirus, police say. Around 1,000 were arrested in the last 2 days for unnecessary movement or for not wearing nose mask.
Wow.
Restrictions have been eased slightly in the country where more than 1,500 infections have been confirmed. Now, when you go to page 9 of the same paper, Russia rejects UK COVID-19 vaccine hacking allegations. Russia's ambassador to the UK has rejected allegations that his country's intelligence services tried to steal coronavirus vaccine research. Hey, this is where we are at now. I don't believe in this story at all. There's no sense in it. Andrew Kellen told the BBC's Andrew Marshall. However, Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said it is very clear Russia did this, adding that it is important to call out this pariah type behavior. And on the same page, COVID-19 wrangling over huge EU recovery plan. And there's a photo of Charles Michel, the European Council President, with Angela Merkel and Francis Emmanuel Macron. They have held a meeting to plan how the European Union will recover from this.
Well, that's good for them. We are also waiting for our budget to hear how we can recover. There's a final health story. Shine the spotlight on non-communicable diseases. The NCD Alliance urges government and media, says, yes, we should talk about COVID-19, but we should also emphasize that non-communicable diseases like cancer, stroke, hypertension, and diabetes are also on the rise, and we should give equal attention to same. That's all we have time for. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Godfred. Coming up next is the Citi Business News.
Today, there are doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals on the front line of the COVID pandemic, sacrificing their own health for the good of the nation. You may not be on the front lines, but you can make a big contribution in a small way to fight this pandemic. With just 10 cities each, together we can help to build an infectious disease center in Accra and then Kumasi, one person at a time, one donation at a time. Join Fidelity